The International Criminal Court's issued a warrant for his arrest over these alleged war crimes in Gaza, including starvation as a method of warfare, as well as murder, persecution and other inhumane acts. The White House was a very rare moment, almost, from Sleepy Joe Biden, who don't really hear anything from these days, for obvious reasons. You know, he's off on his holidays for good come January, but you know, he came out and said this was nonsense, and I think outrageous was the word he used. He also said that the idea of drawing equivalence with Israel and Hamas was also outrageous, which it clearly demonstrably is. And our own Prime Minister said, oh, we respect the decisions of the court. Really? Is that as far as they can go? Let's get a word on this with Fleur Hassan-Nahoum, who is the Israeli Foreign Ministry Special Envoy, also former Deputy Mayor of Jerusalem. Fleur, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Ian.
I never thought I'd find myself thinking Joe Biden's called this one right, but it seems that his words are spot on here.
Yes, but you know, Ian, at the same time, back in July, when the ICC threatened to put out these arrest warrants, he could have stopped it. But at the time, George Clooney, whose wife is involved in being one of the advisors, and she would personally have been sanctioned, convinced him not to actually warn the ICC not to do this. So the plot thickens.
It kind of tells us what a strange world we're living in when George Clooney is somehow pivotal to geopolitical issues as big and as important as this. But you're absolutely right. That is where we're at. Just tell us then, give us a view then, Fleur, of what we make of these accusations specifically against Mr. Netanyahu and Mr. Gallant as well, now gone. We'll come on to the Hamas issue in a moment, but starvation as a method of warfare, murder, persecution and other inhumane acts. How is Israel responding to this?
Well, first of all, is complete slanders and libel, because all you have to do is come to Israel, go to the border and see how many tons of food go in every single day. For a year now, it's been over 1 million tons of humanitarian aid. Does that sound to you like a country that is intentionally starving a population it's at war with? Let me remind everyone that the only international law obligation that Israel has is to facilitate that aid. Now, what happens when the aid goes into Gaza? What happens is that Hamas gunmen steal the aid and then sell it in the open market for a pretty price. And somehow Israel also has to be responsible about what happens in a place that attacked Israel, and that we're doing everything in our power to protect their civilian population when Hamas, the terrorist organization, also prescribed by Britain as a terrorist organization, is doing everything it can to put its own citizens in harm's way. That's how ridiculous this is. Ian, it's as if Obama and George Bush would have been sanctioned or arrested for killing Osama bin Laden. That's what they're basically saying.
And it does brilliantly almost erase what is happening. I mean, Israel are surrounded by terror, have been for many years. We have Iran, the greatest sponsors and exporters of terrorism on the planet. You have Hezbollah over there. You've got Hamas over there. I mean, how much evidence does the International Criminal Court need for be able to what the rest of us, I'd like to think, can see with our own eyes?
Well, absolutely. Look, at what it shows is, Ian, that this is a politically biased court to begin with. That's what it shows. They were out for blood. They put a democratically elected leader of a democratic country with Western liberal values on the same level as the Hamas arch-terrorist Mohammed Deif, who, by the way, is no longer alive.
He's
because
dead,
we killed him. We killed him.
I mean, in order to, I mean, I can only see this, Fleur, as some kind of, you know, a rare moment of recognition for their dubious decision over there at the ICC. Somebody, as almost any other business moment in the meeting, said, maybe we should put one of the Hamas guys in there so it doesn't look as if we've got some kind of political agenda. And they came up with Mohammed Deif spectacularly omitting the fact that the man is dead. I mean, what are we dealing with here in these people?
Well, it's so biased. And let me tell you something else. Normally, protocol and precedent says that you go to the place that you're investigating. Now, Karim Khan was leading a mission to come to Israel, to go to the border, to see whether these allegations were true or not in May. He mysteriously cancels this mission and then does something wholly unprecedented, which is absolutely goes radio silence. Normally, when you're about to put out an arrest warrant or you're about to take that very dramatic step, you coordinate or you at least warn the other side and you tell them. So what did he do? He went radio silence and all of a sudden surprised Israel with this announcement that he was seeking to put out arrest warrants. All of this is unprecedented. And when you see this, you also see that Netanyahu and Gallant are the first ever democratic leaders to have arrest warrants issued against them. All the other people have been African warlords. That's what we've had. And you want to talk about wastage? They get $200 million a year to run this court. And in 22 years, they've indicted 6 people. Out of those 6 people, 2 of them have completely ignored the indictment, one of them being Putin, who gallivanted around the world freely before the war recently. And the other one is the Sudanese dictator who completely ignored it as well.
And Mr. Netanyahu's position on this will curtail travel for your leader? At the moment, he's concentrating on domestic matters. He's hardly touring the world in the conventional sense, but one assumes, bearing in mind, even our own Prime Minister here in the UK couldn't bring himself to say anything other than we respect the decision of the courts. Will that mean Mr. Netanyahu stays at home for some time?
Well, I think that the countries that have certainly said that they will abide by the court, or the countries that haven't said anything, like Germany, and you know what Germans are like, they'll follow rules till the end. It doesn't matter what the rules are. He won't go because he will avoid that embarrassment and humiliation. But that is absolutely ridiculous. It's like Obama wouldn't be able to travel the world for ridding the world of Osama bin Laden, or Churchill for getting rid of Hitler, or for bombing Dresden in order to finish the war, if Churchill would have been considered a war criminal, which in the woke culture of today, that's the next thing that's going to happen.
I have no doubt Churchill would have been in the dock as far as these guys are concerned. Listen, we live in curious times. Fleur, thank you for your time. Really appreciate that. Fleur Hassan-Nahoum, who is the Israeli Foreign Ministry Special Envoy. Thank you to her.